Today, join me as I try and fix this broken Mega Drive game. So I picked up this game from a local charity shop and I was quite excited because you don't often see Mega Drive games out and about nowadays. And I looked at the condition in the store and it seemed, well, I mean, the box looks decent. It has a manual in here as well, which also looks half decent. And when I was there, I had a look at the cartridge and from quick glance, it looked like it had maybe a bit of a tear or a scratch just in the label. And since getting it back, I've realised that the damage is actually more than just a scratch. So what I found was, and you can probably see here, is it's obviously more than a tear in the label and is actually a crack into the cartridge itself. And I did test the game in my Mega Drive and did not work. So I took it apart and realised to my horror that the PCB was completely cracked. So let's take it apart and have a quick look. I've got my game bit here. I can remove the screws. Got the first one and the next one. Now that it's open, we can take a closer look. If I remove the board here, you can see at the top corner where there is an absolutely massive crack. I mean, the corner looks like it's about to fall off. That's how cracked it is. And if I flip it, you can see that big crack, but also smaller cracks running along, actually damaging the traces as well. So there's two options on how we can try and fix this. Firstly, we're going to have to remove the ROM, and then we can either try to repair the board and the traces, but with the amount of damage that is on this board, I think that's going to be quite time consuming. Or I can try and find a donor cartridge and use that board, remove the ROM from there and put the ROM on from this one onto that one, and try and see if that works. So that is what we're going to try first. I've managed to pick up quite a few loose cartridges in job lots on eBay pretty cheap in the hope that one of these will have a board that is similar enough to Comic Zone. So I'm going to go through these and have a look and then I'll be back. So I've gone through that entire stack of cartridges and I was starting to panic at the end because I was going through them and I was nearly to the end of all the cartridges I had and I hadn't found a match. But luckily I seem to have found one that is pretty good. One thing I have learned going through them is that not only is there different varieties of the actual board, but there's two different types of ROM for the Mega Drive, one with 40 pins and one with 42. And the Comic Zone ROM has 42 pins, so I also had to try and match that up as well. But I've got one here that looks like a near perfect match. The only difference is that the Comic Zone has an X and this one has a V, but all of the components seem to be in the same place. So hopefully this will be a good match. Another fact I learned as well was the little number or words and letters and number on this ROM actually correlates to the game itself. I did a little Google of it and it brought up Comic Zone, which was an interesting fact to learn. But now I've got to desolder both of these so they can be swapped over. I'm just speeding this bit up so not to bore you with loads of footage of me desoldering, but I will say it's a lot easier to do with my proper desoldering gun, and I managed to do both of these boards fairly quickly. The cracked board was a bit trickier because of that crack in the corner. Trying to make sure that I didn't break it even further when I got to that point was a bit trickier, but we got there in the end and both of the boards were desoldered pretty well. Now that they've both been desoldered, I can remove the ROMs so that they can be swapped over. So I'm going to start with this one, being very careful because I don't want to break it even further. If I pull that out, there we go, that's out now. And that looks pretty good to me. Just looking at it now, it looks like one leg over here is slightly bent, so hopefully that won't cause any issues with swapping it. Let's take this one out now. There we go, that one comes out easily. And put this onto the board. Now there's seemingly no markings on here on where the, what way this should go in, but I'm gonna just put it in the same way it was on the other board. So with all of the text lining up. So if I put that in there, be very careful. Try and get that in. There we go, that's in and ready for me to solder it now. Editor Kari here. Since watching this back, I have realised that while I was looking for a 1, there is actually a little mark to say which way the ROM goes. Okay, so I've got my soldering iron, and apologies if there's a bit of background noise, it's because I've got my extractor fan on. And I've just prepared this slightly by putting a bit of flux on there to make it easier, and just put a bit of blue tack underneath just to stick it into place. And one tip I've learned when soldering is to start by soldering opposing corners, just to make sure that it's all flush. So I've just done that one corner, and if I turn it over, that is not perfect, so I'll just press down, pick that up and push that down. That should be quite flush now, it is. And I can do the same on the other corner. So if I solder there, just check that. I don't think that's gonna be very flush, no. So heat that up, press down, just turn that over. Yeah, that looks pretty flush and good to go for me soldering the rest. I've just finished soldering, and before I put this back in the case, I'm going to give it a bit of a clean. So I've got some IPA here to spray on, and just scrub it with a toothbrush just to make sure there's no flux left on there. I'll give it a good scrub. And if I spray it again, I've got a cotton bud here because I'm just going to clean up the pins as well while it's open. And I'll do the other side, but I'll scrub these top to bottom. If I turn that over and give it another spray and scrub these ones as well. Now that is all nice and clean, it is ready to put back in the case. Right, so now that's all put together, it is time for the moment of truth to see if this actually works. I mean, I'm not entirely convinced if it's gonna work. It was a bit of a hypothesis to test out with removing and changing the ROM to see if it works, but I guess the only way to find out is to actually plug it in and test it, so we're gonna do that. My TV is on and warmed up, so I just need to put it in the Mega Drive and turn the Mega Drive on. That's in there, turn that on. Wait, okay, it's on. It is actually working. You probably see I'm genuinely shocked that that's up and on and seems to be working fine. We have Comic Zone. I've actually never played this game before, so I'm quite excited to finally get to play it and actually check it out. Right, so that was fun fixing this Mega Drive cartridge, and I'm very happy that it did end up working in the end. I still have the other board, and if I can successfully glue back the broken bit down, I will have a go at fixing the traces on this one, and I will post updates for that on my socials, and all of the links for those are in my YouTube bio. So that's all for today, and I'll see you next time.